So, excuse all the junk in my background. I've been thinking about doing this video for quite some time now, and I thought that I would probably go ahead and do it today. Um, I just, I don't know, like I've been having a lot of thoughts here lately about what I believe in, what I'm not so sure I believe, and whether or not what I've been taught is what I believe, and if my beliefs conflict or coincide with the things that I've been taught, and I don't really know anymore. I am, um, I don't know, what would you call it? I'm Church God in Christ. Born and raised Kojic. I love the Church of God in Christ. It is, to me, best denomination out there. But hey, that's because I'm biased and um, I make no apologies for it. Anyway, however, I just think that I don't know, a lot of things that I've been taught, I'm not so sure I agree with. I think that there could be a totally different way that we go about reaching the unsaved. Um, and that's just my personal opinion, not saying that it's right, not saying that anyone is doing anything wrong, just saying that personally I think that our outreach methods could probably use some updating and they could probably use some work. And I know that a lot of people wouldn't agree with that, but we say so often that the church is the hospital. And from personal experience, so many broken and hurting people go to the hospital and leave the same way because they can't be honest without fear of judgment or fear of whatever they say being dinner conversation or any number of different things and any number of different reasons why people choose to go to church Sunday after Sunday after Sunday after Sunday and not be delivered and not be healed and not be set free. And I'm speaking only from personal experience and just from the things that I think. Um, I am a, oh boy, I don't know that I would call myself a survivor. And I don't know that I would call myself a victor. And that may be self-defeating to some people, but it's honest. I've been through a lot of things that most people know nothing about. And it's because I have been hurt in the church. And it's not to say that everybody in church is going to hurt you, but you have to, as the word says, know those who labor among you. So you have to know who you can trust and who you can talk to and who you can go to. But I think that the church should have support groups. Um, and I think that because there are so many people, women in general, who are dealing with issues that they could really use some support. Single parents, rape survivors, um, young women who are being molested, single parents, and I fall into every one of those categories. And I feel like there should be some kind of support group for us where we should be able to go into church and know, you know what, I'm not the only one. And I'm not the only person who's made this mistake. And I'm not the only person who's been through this. And I'm not the only person who's lived this. And I'm not the only person who is dealing with the pain from this. And it's hard because nobody talks about the real stuff. Nobody goes and says, when we're having testimony service, nobody stands up and they never talk about I was raped or I was molested or I was abused or my husband was beating me or any of those things. We get up and we give those testimonies. Giving honor to God who is first in my life and the pastor and the bishop in the house. and all those people who need to be addressed and whatnot. And then we say things like, I just want to thank God for the check I received, or I just want to thank God for the car that I just got. I just want to thank God for all these material things. And it's not about the materials. It's it's not about the materials. It's not about the materials at all in any way, shape, or form. And I feel like we are missing it because there are so many people, myself included, who are on the verge of breaking down completely and nobody knows because the spirit of discernment is off, because everybody is so self-absorbed and self-consumed that they can't see that the people around them, that their brothers and their sisters are broken, and that their brothers and their sisters are hurting. And I am thankful that I have a pastor who knows me well enough to know when something is amiss in my life, when something is wrong. I'm glad that he knows. The second thing that I think that we need to stop doing, and this is again just a personal thing, stop telling people who suffer from depression and mental illness that they need to pray against the spirit, and that if they get depressed, then they are not having faith, and that they don't trust God and they don't believe God. Because the thing is, mental illness, just like diabetes, just like high blood pressure, just like all the rest of those diseases, is a disease and needs to be treated by a medical professional. There are different kinds of therapies. There's talk therapy. There is medication. There's all kinds of things, but you cannot isolate a person who's dealing with a mental illness by telling them that they don't trust God. Because what you do to them is you make them feel like there's something wrong with them. And then when something is wrong with them, they won't come and say something. They won't come and tell you because they don't trust you to believe them. And prayer is always in order, don't get me wrong. There's always, always, always time to pray. Regardless of what's going on or where you find yourself, prayer is always in order. But I suffer from bipolar disorder. And, I don't care that people know. It's something that I deal with. It's part of my life. And it's something that I'll deal with for the rest of my life. Just like I'm diabetic. Something that I'll deal with. I have medication for diabetes. People tell me that I need to go see the doctor because my sugar is high. But they won't tell me that I need to go see the doctor because I can't sleep for days on end. And they won't tell me that I need to go see the doctor because I can't think straight, or because I cry for 18 hours out of the day, or because sometimes my mind moves so fast that nothing makes sense and things don't connect, and there's this white noise that goes on in my head. And I know that it's not because I did something wrong. It's just because there is a genetic thing that happened to me, and I happen to have a disorder because of it. It's genetic. Just like my mom had heart disease, I could very easily get that, and I'm pretty sure that they'll tell me, yes, you can pray, but you need to go see the doctor. So, like T.D. Jakes said, you know what? Obviously, it's really an illness because God gave people the capacity to treat it, just like He gave doctors the capacity to treat cancer and everything else. Same thing. I just feel like at some point, all these taboo subjects that we don't want to talk about in church need to be talked about, because there are people who deal with them every day sitting in congregations all over the world. And there are people who are broken and people who are hurting who only want somebody to understand, who only want somebody to get it, and will never know that anybody gets it or that anybody has been there if everybody in church is pretending like they've never been through anything. You get people in church and the mothers don't want to say what they've been delivered from. They get up and say stuff like, I've been saved all my life. No, you've been running with Jesus all day. No evil have you done. That's all fine and good. You didn't mess up today. You didn't mess up today, and we thank God for it. But you messed up somewhere along the way. So let's just be honest with one another. We run around and we say stuff like, am I my brother's keeper? Am I my sister's keeper? And the fact of the matter is, yes. Yes, we are. But we're so absorbed with ourselves and our own lives and our own issues that we can't take 2 minutes to stop and be there for somebody else. But then when we are the one in need of an ear, a shoulder, a dollar, or whatever it is, and nobody is there for us, so we feel like we're being mistreated. But we never go back and look and go, you know what, well, when so-and-so needed me, I wasn't available to them. It's the law of sowing and reaping, people. You reap what you sow. If you put it out there, you are sure to get it back because that is the way the universe works. That is the way that God said this thing works. So yes, let's pray for one another, but let's work on being there for one another. Let's work on all this gossiping and talking about people when we hear something about them. Let's cut that foolishness out because it's foolishness. If you hear that I went and I snapped out and had a nervous breakdown and was in the hospital, don't go tell 12 other people. Pray for me. And then come ask me if there's anything that you can do to help me. That I feel like is what the love of God does. The love of God shows compassion, and the love of God shows understanding, and the love of God shows a level of trust that we don't have in the outside world. And the thing about it is that unsaved people can point it out in us in a heartbeat, honey. They know if you are saved for real. They know if you have the love of God in your heart. And we're running around here doing all this judging and doing all this talking. But the thing about it is, even the disciples weren't saved. So to tell somebody that they're wrong when you still have the beam in your eye, stop. Stop. Just pray. Just pray. Prayer is always in order. Don't tell somebody, if it's a friend of yours and you know they're doing something wrong, don't go beat them over the head with the word of God. Pull them to the side and tell them in love, you know what, this is what you're doing, and I really think that maybe you should stop. And if they don't, then the blood is no longer required at your hands because you gave them what thus says the Lord. So I've talked for a whole lot longer than I intended to, and I hope that this makes sense. I hope that it makes sense, but if it doesn't, yeah, that's fine too. This is some stuff that I needed to get off my chest and that I needed to. I needed to. So thank you for listening. I appreciate it. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. Happy Sunday. Peace and blessings.